Check, one, two, three. Well, this is February 27th, 2026. 9 o'clock p.m. I'm getting ready to head to bed. It's been a long day. I wanted to do a quick update today because I actually got out and threw a couple of fishing poles into a local lake. Uh, Pretty rare for Fremont, Nebraska, let's say. It was nice to get out. This has been such a long winter, not just for me, but for everybody that I've talked to. That it, I don't know what it was. The cold, the wind. I had such a weird night the other night. I went to bed early, had a horrible nightmare, which I really don't generally do after I've been on a CPAP for 15 years. But I had such a just shocking nightmare of being trapped. And I think about that all the time with my limitations between my steps and my hip issues. I think about that really a lot. And I'm constantly trying to figure out how to make things easier so I can save those steps. I could probably do I don't need to do a whole nother channel. It's always been part of my thought process for grain free me is doing whatever I can do to, whatever kitchen tools, whatever automotive tools, how to set up a shop, how to go fishing within your physical limitations. This winter, just to be completely honest, took a toll on me more than anything in my past. So talking to other people, it's not just me. It just seems to be something different now. So many people. I had to get off of the support groups, if you want to call them that, because of the negativity. It shouldn't be my problem. It is, though. When I step back and think about it, I do have to think about everybody else. Not just in my limited family now, but the entire world. Who's going to still be around in 2 or 3 years? I lost my dad to cancer a few years ago. My mom's 79. She has a few people still in her life from when she was younger. They're all alone. They might have a couple of kids or a couple of nieces or nephews, but for the most part, they're completely alone too. I don't have anybody. It's like, my son's in college and my mom is 79 and there's nobody around to help me. I've always been okay with that, to be honest. I was always much better off on my own than I was with other people. I enjoyed sharing my knowledge with others, though. It's really hit me over the last couple of weeks of how many people just they're alone. They don't have anybody else to share things with. Uh, and maybe it was the fact that I don't know if I caught a bug or what, because I don't generally get sick other than the CFS from overdoing it. I just really felt down. And, talking to my mom the other day, she was like, oh, yeah, talk to your, 94-year-old uncle, and he's kind of feeling the same way too. And then talking to a couple of other people I know that they were, um, it's pretty rare that somebody I haven't talked to in a year reaches out to me. And when somebody does reach out to me, I kind of know that, man, they're in a rough spot if they're reaching out to me. So I got out, just threw the poles in the water today. I really want to bring this up. I had a younger, I don't know how old he was, maybe 25, 27. He looked really young to me. Conservation officer, game warden, whatever you want to call him, stopped in, and it was kind of nice because end of February in Nebraska, I just kind of took it that he was really happy that somebody was out fishing, that he could do his job and check my license. We talked for probably 20 minutes, which was great because I had a chance to talk to somebody face to face. I had emailed Nebraska Games and Park Commission last week about my hip issues, and that, I can still walk a little ways, but the way most parks and recs are set up, they're not set up for someone like me. And there's a lot of spots out at Fremont State Lakes that I could get to if I could kind of park just off the road. There's no parking signs. But I'm old fashioned. I don't want to cross the lines. I know that, in most cases, just parking someplace for an hour or two isn't going to destroy the grass. But it was nice to talk to somebody that I'm guessing he's stationed there. And I wish I would have grabbed his name, because I really want to tell Nebraska Game Parks, hey, this kid is, he did a great job today. Very informative, very knowledgeable. And if he's the one that generally works the area, I think someone needs to give him a pat on the back and, give the kid a promotion. So it was nice to be able to talk to someone younger that understood, because I told him, I said, look, both of my hips are shot and I can still walk a little ways, but I said, I don't want to take up that handicap spot that somebody that might need a wheelchair takes over, or someone in worse shape than me. I said, I I can't do that. I just can't. And it was nice talking to him. And he said, look, I completely understand. And, um, if it comes down the road that, you need to kind of pull off the road to get to some place that, that would be easier for you to fish. He said, just talk to us. If someone comes up to you and says, oh, hey, you can't do this, he said, just let us know. And he said, if it's me, now that we've talked together, I'd be more than happy to cut you a little slack, because we get it. We're not out here to, it makes us happy to see people using the parks. So I really appreciated that. Some of the wardens that I've talked to in the past were just, they weren't really nice people. This kid was really great. He was so happy. I mean, he didn't even ask. I had to ask him, hey, do you want to see my license? I haven't had anybody ask me to see my license in 10 years. Can I show you my license? And I told the kid how appreciative I was of him being out there. The best thing was he asked me, he's like, do you have any questions? You want to talk to me about anything? And I'm like, yeah. I'm an old dude with screwed up hips. What can I do about that? Because most of the park, most of the lakes aren't designed for people like me. So it was really nice. I wish I would have got the kid's name so I could just blast it all over Facebook and YouTube. But hopefully, Nebraska Game and Parks will get back in touch with me and let me know who it was, because he really needs some recognition. The other thing I was trying to get back to is the aspect of community. Again, I thought a lot about that today. It's a tricky subject. I would love to have somebody to go out fishing with. Ever since I lost my dad to cancer, and with my son being in Lincoln, I don't really have anybody to hang out with and go fishing with like I used to. On the same aspect, on the same note, it's hard to share with people fishing spots per se, because of the fact that, in my experience, excuse me, being 52, I've seen way too many times going out and people take over their limits. They fish illegally. They don't have licenses. A lot of people don't even pay for park permits because the parks are understaffed. So those were always things that, you get people that just trash the place. They come out, they drink, they leave all their trash, they leave all their broken strings and fishing line around. They litter. That's a hard conversation for a lot of people to have, because you get the assholes that are like, oh, I'm just having fun, and oh, fuck you, I don't, you, nanny state, blah, 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 I should be free to do anything. No, you shouldn't. This is taxpayer money. I pay for my permits. I pay for my fishing license. I pick up after myself. I pick up after other people. And being disabled, it makes it even harder. you get some of these people out there with money that they just think they own the place. And they probably don't have a fishing license. They probably don't even have registration on their boats. They don't. I've seen that a lot of times. Motorboats out there without tags. But unfortunately, they don't. There's not a lot legally that can happen to those people. They might get a ticket. They might get a fine, which they're fine with paying. I mean, long story, I don't want to get into, let's put it that way. But either route, getting back to the community aspect of this, that I'm going to be trying to figure out a way to hook up an electric winch in my truck so I can get my rowboat in and out easier. It would be really nice to be able to find somebody else that could go out with me, but it's a small boat. How do you post that online? Hey, sorry, I've got a 12-foot boat with sonar and a trolling motor, but I'm not going to launch anywhere to boat ramp. I still have enough in my hips that I can get in and out of the boat basically to load and unload. But the lakes that I'm going to be fishing don't have boat ramps. So as much as I would like to find somebody to go out with, how do you put that on social media without getting a crap storm of, oh, you're fat phobic or elder phobic or whatever? I don't know. I need to figure that out, because I would like to, again, take that grain-free me idea past just the food. If I just do what I've been doing and keep focused on just the food for the last year and a half, 2 years, I'll lose my mind. I'll throw every part of it down the drain. I have to figure out how to bring in the wood shops, the music studio, the automotive stuff. I've got to do it. I've got to figure this out. I can't just be the food aspect as much as I want to. I mean, there's a million recipes I could do, but that's not me. I just can't. It's really been eating at me here for the last couple of weeks. And it felt nice. 2 hours out on the lake, I came home and jumped on the 3D printer and printed out some more organization stuff for the fishing gear that I need to sort and sell off. And I haven't been able to think about any of that kind of thing for 6 months. I think 6 months ago was about the last time I did let myself think about any of that stuff. So I'd love to hear some feedback from people who might, I was talking to my counselor the other day about, like, okay, I'm burned out with everything since 2019, the flood. I said, and then my parents got sick. I got sick. I have to figure out a way to find a little bit of spark. And Stacy was great. She said, hey, completely understand. The only thing I can really tell you about burnout is that you have to kind of pick like half an hour a day to turn off everything. And we were talking about how hard it's been this winter because of the cold, the weird snow aspects. I've got a, 24-foot greenhouse in my backyard that I couldn't go out into because it was 7 inches of snow. And I couldn't go shovel that to get out there. And then I had this horrible panic attack after that conversation the other night that I know I'm not alone in feeling. This has been a hard couple of years for everybody. The biggest thing for me, like I keep saying, is community. I've seen how alone and isolated everybody else has gotten. I used to be okay with being that person, which is really hard because my limitations. I got accustomed to it. Okay. When you have 3,500 steps a day, you almost always have to take a nap from 1 o'clock until 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And then you need to go back to bed by 8 or 9 o'clock. It's hard to have connections and make connections with people. Coming from someone that, played out, had a karaoke business, worked in retail, delivered pizzas, and I think that's the first time I've actually said that, to be honest. How do you make connections when you have such limited energy? I can't remember what it was. Somebody's birthday, I think, a few years back, trying to explain to them that I'm mostly wheelchair bound and I can't do steps. This was going to be a party someplace local that was like 3 flights of steps. No, and I think it was at the Eagles Club down on, 6th and Main. And I'm like, how do they not have a elevator? And then I was asking about, well, how far is it from like where we might be seated to the bathroom? Because even if I sleep all day, how many steps is it going to be to get to the bathroom? And this was, from the sounds of it, it was a pretty big place. So and then also I was going to have to park across the street. Even in the wheelchair, that was a bunch of work to get to the building that this birthday party was at. As much as I would have liked to have gone, not a possibility. That leads me back to everything else with community. How can I do this to bring people in that might be in the same boat, or people that are willing to understand and help out? Having my boat, if I had somebody a little bit stronger, then it wouldn't be such a concern. Because I do have those days that it's like, okay, I would really like to get out of the house, but the lakes that I want to fish, there aren't usually people out there fishing. That's why I want to go fish them. What if I'm not scared about like having a heart attack or something, but if the boat started sinking for some weird reason, it just it's like having a spare tire in your car. Plan ahead for the worst. And also, I know a lot of people that like to fish on their own. Nothing against them. I like to, if I'm going out bank fishing, yeah, I have no problem fishing on my own. But if I'm going to go out on a small boat, even if it's on a small lake, part of me just would prefer to have somebody there to not only just have fun and experience to share with, but as a safety precaution. Don't go into the woods by yourself. Little Red Riding Hood, Hansel and Gretel kind of thing. I don't know what it is. So, a lot of all this stuff always going through my brain. Maybe you guys can offer me some suggestions. How could I post that on like Nebraska fishing page on Facebook? To me, it sounds weird. It's like desperate, and unfortunately, I've posted a couple of times, and unfortunately, the majority of people that posted obviously didn't look at my post because I basically said, hey, I've got a small 12-foot boat trying to find a fishing buddy. And it's creepy. You get like a couple types of people in the majority. People that aren't in the area, people that say, hey, I'll bring the beer. Like, I'm going to go fishing at 9 o'clock in the morning. It's illegal to drink on a boat. Don't want that shit. And then you get the weirdos that are like, yeah, no. Mm-mm. No, I want to go fishing, not kinky old man stuff. No. Can't believe I just said that, but it's actually the truth. Um, so I don't know, just kind of getting it out there. So what's on the recipe for this week? I'm gonna try lasagna. Got the hamburger thawing, and did the tuna fish sandwich the other night. Turned out really good. I unfortunately didn't have the energy to update it into the wraps and the chaffle, but I did record the tuna fish sandwich, tuna salad. Let's put it that way. Tuna fish salad recipe. And retried my pizza crust recipe the other night too. Getting close, but still having that issue with this latest batch of almond flour. So I need to either add some yeast, nutritional yeast, beef gelatin, extra garlic, some different spices to cover up that sweetness from the batch, which you don't know. You don't know. So it's hard to say, hey, just add this, because if you get a bag that isn't as sweet, then the whatever you add to it is going to be overpowering. But texture wise, using the Dimpler worked great. had to go back to par baking, unfortunately, because I was trying so hard to just say, hey, you can mix it, top it, bake it. Just can't. And we didn't with working at Pizza Hut and Casey's. All of our dough was in the fridge overnight for the most case. So I don't know why that one bothers me so bad. Just maybe it's just because of the disabled part, that those are extra steps. And I know that not everybody is bad off as I am. I really have to try to get over that aspect of trying to make everything as simple for everybody, because not everybody is in a bad shape as I am. So I'm going to try to work on that. And I'm going to keep trying to do these updates that maybe I can get some other people to jump on board to work with. If I could find some people in Fremont that would be willing to go out with the action cameras with me, help me set them up, help me get the boat out of the truck for a couple of hours to talk about things, whether they're disabled or not. You know, if they just like to fish, hey, let's just go out and fish. If they are disabled and they want to fish, and it's hard because, like I said, the places I want to go fish don't have boat ramps. So someone's going to have to still have the physical ability to get into a small 12-foot rowboat. But once we're in there, hey, I've got things set up pretty nicely. You know, fishing rod holders, sonar anchors are close that you can pretty much just chuck them out the side and tie them off. If I could do that for, 2 or 3 hours a day, 3 or 4 days a week in the morning, I would love it. I want to get into doing more grilling and maybe try getting one of the outdoor smokers, the electric ones. If I could find somebody to, sponsor a couple of videos using it, that would be awesome. Then it gets back to the energy aspect. If I could find somebody to write those emails for me and try to get in touch with those companies. Hey, I've got a friend who's trying to get this Grain-Free Me channel. The website. I've got to really focus on the website and getting the updated chaffle, tortilla, and pizza crust recipes posted on the website. It's a lot of work. But I'm gonna keep fighting. Gonna keep trying to get all this uploaded and posted. So if you guys want to reach out to me, if you think you might be able to help in any way or offer suggestions, I'd love to hear it. At my age, I mean, this is so much more than, yeah. I'm going to leave it at that. Everybody have a great night. And if you are trying to leave a grain-free me lifestyle, good for you. Like, share, and subscribe. Follow me over on Facebook at GrainFreeMe68025. You can bookmark the grainfreeme.com website, but it's not updated yet. Hopefully it will be here in the next few weeks. And for anyone that just, likes the direction that this is going, I appreciate it. Leave a comment if you can. I'll try to read them and get back in touch. Until next time. Sweet dreams. Have a good night. Signing out from Nebraska.